Before we begin this night prayer, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like this video. Your support helps more hearts find comfort when they need it most. Some nights are louder than others. Even when the world is quiet, even when the walls don't creak and the windows don't rattle, even when the house is still and silent and the hallway is empty. Some nights feel like they're whispering all the things I don't want to hear. I know how irrational that sounds, but fear doesn't wait for logic. It just arrives, like fog creeping in through the cracks, and it stays longer than I want it to. Sometimes I try to fight it by pretending I'm fine, by walking calmly through the rooms and telling myself it's just a house, just nighttime, just sleep. But sometimes the silence feels too sharp, and the walls feel too thin, and my thoughts race toward every worst-case scenario I've ever imagined. I wonder if I locked the back door. I wonder if the noise I thought I heard was real. I wonder if someone could get in without me knowing. I wonder if I could protect myself or the people I love if anything happened. I don't want to be thinking these things at night. I don't want to feel like my own home could turn into a place of danger. But when fear makes itself at home in your heart, it's hard to tell it to leave. There's a kind of loneliness in being scared like this. Not the kind that comes from being alone, but the kind that makes you feel like no one else would understand. Like everyone else is sleeping peacefully while you're sitting there listening for sounds that aren't there. Like you're the only one who tiptoes past dark windows or double checks the alarm. And maybe you are, or maybe not. Maybe more of us are afraid than we say out loud. Maybe more of us carry these invisible weights at night, hoping no one notices how tense our shoulders are or how fast our hearts are beating. Maybe we all just want to feel safe somewhere, safe enough to breathe easy, safe enough to sleep, safe enough to not feel like we have to be the guard at the door every night. So I'm here tonight, whispering this prayer from the quiet of my room, with the curtains drawn and the lamp casting soft light onto the floor. I'm asking, gently and honestly, God, please be near. Please cover this home like a shelter I can trust. Please station peace like a watchman at every window. Please stand like a strong, steady presence at the front door, not letting fear slip in past. I need to believe that I'm not the only one keeping this place safe. I need to rest knowing that something greater than me is watching, protecting, securing what I cannot. Because the truth is, I am tired. I am tired of holding this all alone, of being the one who listens for the threats, prepares for the what-ifs, and braces for what never even comes. I'm tired of carrying a guard's heart when what I really long for is to feel like a child again, protected, small, surrounded by arms stronger than mine. Let tonight be different. Let tonight be covered. Let this house be wrapped in quiet strength. Let each room be held by something sacred. Let the night pass softly through the halls, not with threats, but with calm. Let the shadows be nothing more than shadows. Let the wind against the walls be nothing but wind. Let the silence finally feel safe, not suspicious. Let me breathe slowly again. Let my chest loosen. Let my body remember what it feels like to truly rest. Not just to sleep with one ear open, but to fully surrender to the quiet, to finally let go. I don't need dramatic signs. I don't need loud proof. I just need the stillness to feel like safety. I need to feel you here. Not far off or delayed, not watching from above, but right here, in the walls, in the corners, in the air itself. I want to believe that when I lay down, I'm laying in a place that has been prayed over, protected, sealed with peace. I want to believe that nothing can cross the threshold without going through you first. I want to believe that my home is more than walls and locks. It's a place where you dwell, a place where fear doesn't get the final say, a place where I can finally exhale I know not every night will be like this. I know there will still be moments when I jump at sounds or check the locks twice or lie awake replaying things that never happened, but I also know this. Tonight, I can ask for help. Tonight, I can invite your presence into every space I fear. And maybe, just maybe, your presence is enough to change the atmosphere, enough to soften the tension in my chest, enough to make this room feel like more than a room, like a sanctuary, a safe place, a covered space, a home that holds peace. So stay with me tonight, God. Sit near as I sleep. Place your hand over the roof and every room beneath it. Guard the doors, guard my mind, guard the heart that keeps whispering, "What if?" Speak back louder than the fear, gently, but with the kind of truth that doesn't leave. Tell the shadows, they don't belong here. Tell my mind, it doesn't have to rehearse disaster. Tell my soul that it is safe, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally. Let the fear unwind. Let the stories in my head come to a stop. Let the breath in my lungs slow to something easy and steady. Let the night pass by with no disturbance. Just rest, just peace. There's something sacred about choosing to trust when your instincts want to panic. Something quiet but powerful in deciding not to keep pacing the hallway, not to keep checking the locks, not to keep imagining every possible intrusion. Something holy in laying your head down on the pillow and saying, "I'm not going to carry this tonight." That's what I'm trying to do right now. Not because I'm suddenly fearless, not because everything is perfectly safe, but because I'm learning that peace isn't the absence of possible danger. It's the presence of a deeper protection. It's the decision to believe that someone is watching when I can't, that someone stronger is holding the night together while I sleep. And I want that kind of faith to take root in me, not just during the day when it's easier to believe, but here in the dark when it's just me in the silence. I keep thinking about the image of a guard at the door. Not one who's pacing, but one who's steady, calm, already in control. I picture them standing silently, alert but at ease, never blinking, never leaving their post. That's who I want you to be for me tonight. Not because I demand it, but because I know I need it. I need to believe that you don't sleep, that you don't miss anything, that you're already aware of every sound in the night and every thought in my mind. I need to believe you're not just a concept I whisper about, but a real presence that makes real things happen, like stopping fear from coming any closer, like wrapping this home in peace too thick for anxiety to slip through. I want to believe that you're not just watching, but surrounding, not just listening, but responding, not just available, but already here. And if I get quiet enough, I can almost feel it. The shift in the atmosphere, the way the air stills just slightly, the way the tightness in my chest loosens just a little, the way my thoughts slow down, like they're being hushed by something bigger than them. I don't know if it's your hand or your whisper or just the weight of your presence, but something is settling in, something that tells me I don't have to be on guard tonight. I can lower my shoulders. I can take a deeper breath. I can trust that if you're here, I don't have to be everywhere at once. I don't have to prepare for what ifs or imagine every scenario. I can let this moment just be what it is, a quiet night with you in it. That doesn't mean every fear disappears. Some still linger at the edges of my mind, waiting to pull me back into that spiral, but it means I don't have to follow them. I can stay here. I can stay in this room with you. I can choose not to give them the energy they demand. I can let them pass by like clouds, like distant noise I don't have to answer. I can trust that you're not disappointed by my fear, that you're not asking me to be stronger, braver, more spiritual. You're just asking me to bring my fear to you, to not hide it, to not hold it all on my own. And that feels like mercy. That feels like the kind of love I can rest in. Tonight, this home becomes a sacred space, not because of its design or walls or locks, but because I'm inviting you to fill it. I'm handing you the things I've held on to too tightly: my anxiety, my tension, my overthinking, my need to control what I can. I'm offering you the weight of what I don't even say out loud, the stuff that's just under the surface, the stories I tell myself that keep me awake, and as I do, I'm asking you to meet me here. Not with loud declarations, but with stillness. Not with fireworks, but with presence. The kind of presence that makes a room feel warmer, the kind that makes silence feel safe, the kind that turns a house into a haven. Let this bedroom be a place of peace tonight. Let the hallway hold quiet instead of fear. Let the corners of this home be filled with invisible comfort. Let even the places that feel vulnerable, the front door, the back gate, the windows, feel like they've been touched by your protection. Let no evil pass by. Let no harm come near. Let the unseen boundaries of this home be fortified by your spirit. Let there be peace where I once felt unease. Let there be calm where I once felt panic. Let there be assurance in the place where fear used to sit. And if I stir in the night, if I wake to sounds or thoughts that try to shake me, let me find you there again. Let me remember that you don't leave when I sleep, that you're still here when my eyes open in the dark. Let that be enough to keep me grounded. Let that be the truth that steadies me. Even if the night stretches long, even if my mind tries to wander back to fear, keep calling me back to peace. Keep calling me back to you. You know how much I want to protect the people I love. You know how deeply I long for them to be safe. So tonight, I pray not just for myself, but for every heart within these walls, for every soul trying to rest, for every child tucked into bed, for every adult trying to quiet their mind, for every corner of this home that holds life and love. Guard us all. Shield us all. Speak comfort over each one. Let your presence be like a blanket, soft and sure, covering us from anything that tries to shake our peace. And for those I love who aren't under this roof tonight, for friends far away, for family in other homes, I lift them to you too. Wrap them in the same peace. Let their homes be safe places too. Let no fear find them. Let no harm reach them. Stretch your presence far and wide tonight, not limited by walls or distance or time zones. Be everywhere we need you to be. Watch over every door we can't see. Protect what we love, even when it's outside our reach. Let your care be greater than our worry. Let your covering be stronger than our grasp. I may not see angels at the windows or hear trumpets in the sky, but I can still believe that you are working in quiet ways, that you are standing at the door with authority, that you are lighting up this place with your peace, even if it's not visible to the eye. I can still believe that every corner is seen, every sound is known, every fear is countered with love, and maybe that belief is what will finally let me rest. So here I am again, whispering into the night, asking you to be what I cannot, to be the stillness in the chaos, to be the calm in the question, to be the strength when I feel small, to be the shelter when my mind can't stop running, to be the light when I close my eyes and the dark feels too close. Be here in every way I need, be here in ways I can't even describe. Just be here, fully, constantly, kindly. Sometimes the fear doesn't even come from the outside. Sometimes it's something that lives inside the house of my own heart, a worry that rises up out of nowhere, a memory that comes knocking just as I start to relax, an old ache that whispers from the past, convincing me I'm not as safe as I want to believe. These are the intrusions I never know how to prepare for. They don't come through doors or windows. They rise from within, and they're the hardest to shut out. because they sound like my own voice, my own doubt, my own what-ifs, layered like blankets over the quiet. And I want to be brave. I really do. But it's hard to rest when the thoughts inside you keep shaking the ground under your peace. I've been here too many times, lying still in bed while my mind rehearses every mistake I've made, every way I might have left something vulnerable, every scenario I never lived through, but fear I might. I know the feeling of scanning the ceiling like it holds answers. I know the weight of the covers pulled tight like armor. I know how it feels to breathe like you're hiding, like the quieter you are, the safer you'll be. It's exhausting. Not because anything has happened, but because my mind doesn't know how to rest without certainty, and life rarely gives me certainty. So I carry this question: is peace even possible for someone like me? But tonight, I want to find a new way. Not by ignoring my thoughts or pretending I'm not afraid. Not by yelling at my mind to stop spinning, but by letting you come sit with me in the middle of it. I want to let you in, not just into my home, but into the parts of me that feel like they're always bracing. The parts that don't know how to let their guard down. The parts that equate safety with control, and control with endless exhaustion. I want to try something different. I want to trade vigilance for vulnerability. I want to see what happens when I don't protect myself with fear, but surround myself with you. Will you teach me how to do that? How to unlearn all the ways I've tried to keep myself safe, that only made me more tired. How to breathe like I'm already protected, not like I have to earn it. How to trust that when I lie down, I'm lying into arms that don't falter. I want that kind of rest, the kind that goes deeper than the body, the kind that reaches into the spirit and reminds it you are held, you are covered, you are not the one holding everything up tonight. Let these walls no longer be places I patrol, but places I release. Let this house no longer be something I have to monitor, but something I can soften into. Let this night not be a test of my readiness, but a reminder of your faithfulness. Let the fear come if it must, but let it find me resting in you. Let it knock, but let it be met not with panic, but with peace. There is a quiet strength that comes from choosing to stay when fear tells you to run. A holiness in remaining grounded when your thoughts swirl like wind outside the windows. That's the strength I want. Not to fight fear with fear, but to sit still while you fight for me. To believe that even if I don't feel brave, I can still be safe. Even if my chest feels tight, your presence can still fill this space. Even if my thoughts aren't calm, your peace can still wrap around them like a gentle hand, saying, "Shoo, I'm here. Rest now." Sometimes I imagine you walking through the house at night, not hurried, not searching for threats, but moving slowly, lovingly, like someone who knows this space and calls it holy. I picture you pausing in each room, touching the walls like you're blessing them, breathing peace into every corner. I see you at the doors, closing them with authority, placing unseen strength where weakness once lived. I imagine you standing by the bed, not as a distant light, but as a quiet protector who doesn't need to speak to be present. And in that vision, I sleep. I finally sleep. So, walk this house tonight, God. Visit every room, every hallway, every space where fear tries to hide. Let your peace move like wind through the curtains. Let it settle like dust in the corners. Let it anchor this place in a way that no threat can shake. Make this home a haven tonight. Not because nothing will ever go wrong, but because even if it does, I will not be alone. Even if the world outside rages, this place can be still. Even if fear returns, it will not win. I don't know what kind of night others are having, but if there's anyone out there like me lying in bed, watching the clock, listening for creaks and cars and anything that might mean danger, I pray for them too. For the ones with heavy minds and tired hearts. For the ones whose homes have never felt like safe places, for the ones who've never known what it means to sleep without fear. I lift them up now, asking that the same peace I'm pleading for would meet them too, that their rooms would be filled with comfort, that their fears would be answered with presence, that they would know what it means to breathe without bracing. Because safety is more than a circumstance. It's a knowing, a quiet assurance, a truth deeper than the fear, and you, God, are that truth. You don't promise that nothing will ever go wrong, but you promise you'll never leave. You promise that we are seen, that we are not unguarded, that our souls matter to you, that our breath matters to you, that our fears don't scare you away. You stay through the dark and the quiet and the what-ifs. You stay when the house feels too quiet and the mind feels too loud. You stay, and that's enough. So tonight, let my home be wrapped in the kind of peace that doesn't come from alarms or locks or lights left on. Let it be wrapped in the kind of peace that comes from knowing you're here, that you are not outside the door, but already inside, already present, already aware of every creak and whisper and heartbeat. Let me trust in that enough to sleep. Let me believe in that enough to rest. Before I lie down completely, before I surrender to the weight of rest, I need to say this. I am tired of being afraid in my own home, tired of looking over my shoulder inside the space that should be holding me, tired of letting the unknown control the atmosphere of a place that was meant to bring peace, tired of thinking that I have to keep everything together or else something will slip through, tired of the tension in my body, the tight jaw, the unrelenting thought that I have to be ready for something I can't even name. I'm not made to live like this, and tonight I won't. Tonight I'm letting go. Not because nothing could happen, but because even if something did, I am not alone. Even in the worst case thoughts that sometimes come without invitation, I will not be alone. I open my hands now, even if just metaphorically, and I release it all. The imagined scenarios, the fear of footsteps on the stairs, the dread of what waits in the dark corners, the nervousness that creaks louder than the floors ever could. I release the belief that I'm responsible for seeing everything, knowing everything, preventing everything that's not peace, that's pressure, and I've carried that pressure for far too long. I want to learn how to live differently, to live with a heart that still cares, but no longer lives in tension, a mind that is still alert, but not on edge, a body that knows the difference between awareness and alarm. God, teach me the posture of peace, the kind that stands not in panic, but in presence, the kind that locks the door and walks away, not because it's careless, but because it knows you are the final protection, the kind that pulls the curtains and then lets the light within be enough, the kind that doesn't rehearse the worst, but rests in what's true, that you are here, that this home is not defenseless, that this night is not outside of your care. I think about the phrase, a refuge. That's what I want my home to become. Not just a place to live, but a place to breathe. The place where rest isn't something I earn after anxiety, but something that flows because I've made room for your peace to live here. I want the air to feel different because you've been invited. I want the walls to echo with a deeper stillness. I want to believe that fear has no power here, not just because I said so, but because I handed that power over to you, because this house doesn't belong to fear anymore. And if fear still comes, and maybe it will, let it find me already wrapped in something stronger. Let it arrive only to see it's too late, that peace has already taken its place. Let the fear feel unwelcome. Let it shrink in the presence of love. Let it know that tonight it doesn't get to be in charge, that I've invited someone else to take that seat. Let the quiet settle like warm water. Let my breath fall into a rhythm that matches yours. Let the night be deep and unbroken. Let the safety be felt not just in my mind, but in my body. Shoulders unlifted, hands unclenched, heart not racing. Let my sleep be full and thick and real, not interrupted by panic or waking thoughts. Let this bed feel like more than furniture. Let it feel like a place of healing. And God, for those who have never known a safe place, not in childhood, not in adulthood, let this be the first night something shifts. Let this be the beginning of something new. Let your presence turn cold rooms warm. Let it turn haunted memories into peaceful sleep. Let it turn tension into tenderness. Let them know that they don't have to keep running or watching or performing to be protected. Let them know that you are enough. That safety can start with you. That home can be built in your presence, even if the physical place is imperfect. That their hearts can rest, even if they never have before. Let them feel what it's like to be covered, truly covered, not with performance or pretending or planning for danger, but with love, the covering that doesn't require them to be anything other than human, the covering that sees all their fear and doesn't shame them for it, but gently holds them anyway, the covering that doesn't evaporate in the morning, but lingers long enough for trust to grow. And maybe that's what I'm asking for most tonight, trust. Not just protection for the body, but peace for the soul. A trust that anchors me when the unknown knocks. A trust that holds me when the noise won't stop. A trust that stands at the doorway of my thoughts and gently says, "You're safe here." I want that kind of home, that kind of night, that kind of rest. So I offer it again, this space, this body, this heart. I ask you to take it, to hold it, to calm it, to cover it, to surround it with all the quiet strength I cannot muster on my own, to watch while I sleep, to still the chaos within, and to be the reason I wake up tomorrow feeling lighter than I did today. It's taken me years to understand that safety isn't something I can manufacture through routines, alarms, or constant vigilance. For the longest time, I thought if I just did everything right, if I checked the locks, kept the lights on, stayed alert to every sound, then nothing bad could reach me. That illusion gave me structure, but not peace. It kept me moving, reacting, second-guessing, trying to stay one step ahead of every fear. But no matter how Howie I performed the ritual of protection, the unease remained. The shadows still felt too close. The silence still echoed too loudly, and my body still braced, night after night, for something it couldn't name. Lately, I've begun to notice how tired I am from holding that role. There's a weariness that creeps into my bones when I sit too long in that place of high alert. It's not just physical exhaustion, it's something deeper, an ache in the soul from always being on guard. Even in moments when everything is still, I find myself anticipating the disturbance, the shift, the threat. But what if peace isn't found in being prepared for every possibility? What if it's found in relinquishing the illusion that I ever could be? Tonight, I don't want to recite every fear to make it disappear. I don't want to run through the list of what could go wrong to feel in control. I want to do something different. I want to sit here in the quiet, not as a gatekeeper, but as a guest of grace. I want to believe that I don't have to manage every outcome or preempt every threat. Instead, I want to remember that you are all already here, that this space doesn't depend on my effort to become safe. It only needs your presence. And that presence doesn't require me to perform. It only asks me to trust. That kind of trust doesn't come easily. I've been shaped by so many nights when fear was louder than faith, when my body reacted before I could remind myself of truth. There's muscle memory in the way I hesitate near the door before sleep, in the way I listen for unfamiliar sounds even when the house is still. But just because my body remembers fear doesn't mean I have to feed it tonight. I can acknowledge its voice without giving it the power to narrate this moment. I can feel the echo of old panic and still choose to breathe slower, softer, deeper. There's something transformative about sitting in the same room where fear once lived and choosing to invite peace in instead. It doesn't happen all at once. There are no dramatic shifts, no immediate erasures of fear. But slowly, gently, a shift begins. The air feels less tense. The space around me becomes less of a battleground and more of a resting place. Even the silence starts to feel sacred, no longer full of threat, but full of presence. That's the kind of shift I'm asking for tonight. Not loud, not grand, just honest, just enough to make room for rest. In this moment, I think about all the people whose homes were never places of refuge. Those who grew up locking their bedroom doors from the inside, who waited for danger to pass with the lights off, who memorized the creaks in the hallway like warnings. I think of those who still carry that tension, who never fully relax, even in spaces they've claimed as their own. And I ask, for them and for me, can tonight be different? Can the cycle stop here, even for a moment? Can a new kind of experience begin? One that says, you are allowed to feel safe now. You are allowed to sleep without bracing. You are allowed to be held. Let this be the kind of night that begins to rewire what fear tried to teach. Let the hours stretch gently, uninterrupted by false alarms. Let the familiar noises of the house become lullabies instead of warnings. Let every breath I take feel like evidence that I am no longer hiding from something. I am not in danger, simply because I've stopped checking. I am not vulnerable, just because I've put down my guard. I am just resting. And that, in itself, is a kind of healing. You know how often I try to earn safety by working harder, thinking more, doing everything right. But tonight, I'm asking for something I cannot achieve by effort alone. I'm asking for you to carry the weight of protection, to hold the responsibility I was never meant to bear. I want to sleep knowing that I am not the only one watching, that even when I close my eyes, someone is still awake, still aware, still present, not reacting to fear, but standing in authority over it. Let the night feel like shelter, not suspense. Let the air inside these walls hold more love than fear. Let the spirit in this place be one of comfort, not caution. And if I wake in the middle of the night, startled by a sound or shaken by a dream, let me find you again, still here, still steady, still offering peace without reprimand. Let me remember that I'm allowed to reach for reassurance without shame, that fear doesn't make me weak, it makes me human, but your presence makes me whole. Sometimes what I need most isn't a miracle, but permission to stop guarding every door in my soul, permission to stop assuming that stillness means something is about to go wrong, permission to live, even in the night, with the belief that I am not alone in this place. And so, I give myself that tonight. With your help, I give myself permission to feel safe, not because every threat is gone, but because your presence is greater than any threat that could come. Let this home be defined not by its architecture or its address, but by its atmosphere. Let it be known as a place where peace resides. Let it be a space where anxiety doesn't get the final word. Let it be a resting ground for tired hearts and overworked minds. Let it breathe out hope with every exhale. Let it hold quiet as something sacred, not suspicious. Let it hum with the kind of calm that can only come from something holy. I don't know how long it will take for the fear to truly fade. I don't know if it ever disappears completely. But I do know that every night I choose trust over tension. I take one step closer to healing. Every time I breathe deeply instead of bracing, I make room for something better. Every moment I release control, I receive peace, and that is the kind of night I want to live in. One where the healing begins here, in the quiet, with no one watching, no proof needed, just trust and rest and presence. If this house could speak, I wonder what it would say about the nights it has witnessed. The quiet hours when my footsteps were soft and uncertain, when my hands trembled as they turned off the final light, when I paused at each door a little too long before walking away. Maybe it would remember how often I circled back, just one more check, just one more glance, just one more listen for a sound I couldn't name. Not because I believed danger was coming, but because I never learned how to feel safe without preparing for the worst. It wasn't logic that guided me. It was muscle memory wrapped in caution. But tonight, I want to teach this house a new story. I want its walls to remember something different. I want the echoes to change their tone. I want the rhythm of my night to shift. Not because the world outside is different, but because the world within me is learning how to trust. Maybe safety doesn't start with locks and boundaries. Maybe it starts with presence. Steady, quiet, unshakable presence. The kind that doesn't ask questions or keep score. The kind that simply says, "You're not alone, and you don't have to keep standing guard." The more I sit with that truth, the more I realize how deeply I've equated vigilance with love. As if the more I watch over everything, the more I prove I care. As if fear is the price I have to pay for wanting to keep everything and everyone protected. But you never asked me to love from a place of fear. You invite me to love from a place of rest, of trust, of peace. And I know I haven't always known how to do that, but I want to learn. I want to love without anxiety, to rest without guilt, to live in this space as if I truly believe it is covered, even when I can't see how. So much of what I fear never actually comes. So many of the nights I've spent on edge, bracing for something to break in, end in silence. The world doesn't always confirm the panic that lives in my chest, but that doesn't mean the fear isn't real. It's real because it changes how I breathe, how I move, how I sleep. It's real because it keeps me from exhaling, from lying down fully, from feeling softness in the spaces meant for comfort. And so even if no harm ever shows up at our door, the fear alone is enough to steal my peace. Which is why I need something greater than reassurance. I need transformation. That transformation begins not with pretending I'm not afraid, but with bringing that fear into the light. It begins with honesty, with saying, yes, I still worry. Yes, I still double-check the windows. Yes, I still sleep with tension in my shoulders. But I'm not hiding it anymore. I'm not ashamed of it anymore. I'm not going to let it run the night silently while I pretend everything is fine. I'm going to speak it out, name it, hold it in the light of your presence, and slowly I'm going to watch it shrink, not disappear in an instant, but loosen its grip, soften its edge, quiet its urgency. And I believe you'll meet me in that place. Not after the fear is gone, but right in the middle of it. Not only when I found the perfect peace, but when I'm still learning how to recognize it. You are not waiting on the other side of my healing. You are walking with me through it. You are here, even in the moments I still feel afraid. And that is the beginning of freedom, not the absence of fear, but the presence of love that refuses to leave. Let this night be holy, not because it is flawless, but because it is honest. Let it be sacred, not because I conquered my fear, but because I welcomed you into it. Let it carry weight, not because nothing went wrong, but because I chose to rest anyway. There's nothing especially magical about four walls and a roof. Safety doesn't come from construction. It comes from what fills the space. And I want you to be what fills this one, not just during the night, but in every moment that follows. I want your peace to linger here, like a familiar scent, like warmth in the fabric, like light that sticks around even after the sun has gone. I want this home to carry the memory of your presence. So even in daylight, when the fears are quieter, I'll remember what you did in the dark. There's a kind of quiet that doesn't just happen. It's invited. It settles over the room slowly, almost cautiously, like it's waiting to see if it will be welcomed or rejected. I used to chase after that kind of quiet by silencing everything around me, turning off the lights, shutting every door, making sure the television was unplugged and my phone muted. But still, the noise remained. Not the kind that buzzes through appliances or leaks in from the street, but the kind that hums in your mind long after the world has gone still. That was the noise I could never seem to mute, and because of it, peace felt more like an accident than something I could count on. But now, I wonder if quiet was never meant to be forced from the outside in. Maybe it starts somewhere else entirely. Maybe the kind of quiet that heals begins when I stop fighting with myself, stop trying to perfect every detail of my environment, stop assuming that peace is something I earn only after enough effort. Maybe quiet comes when I surrender, when I admit that I can't control the world outside my window, or even the fears that pass through my mind. Maybe quiet is born from the presence that meets me in that admission, the presence that never demanded perfection to show up, only honesty. Tonight, I want that kind of quiet. I don't want silence that merely masks the noise inside me. I want the kind that reaches all the way down to the roots of my fear and says, you can let go now. Not because the house is perfectly safe by the world's standards, not because I've done everything right, but because I'm not the one in charge of keeping watch anymore. Because I've given that role to you. Because I've handed over my exhaustion and invited you to be the one who stays awake while I rest. And it's not just about this one night. I don't want to live in a rhythm where I collapse into sleep from the weight of vigilance, only to rise in the morning with the same tightness in my chest. I want to build a different rhythm, one that begins with presence, not panic, one that teaches my heart a new response to stillness, one where I come home and feel something ease in me, not tighten, one where the night is no longer something to get through, but something I enter into with softness and trust. This home has seen versions of me that no one else has. It's held my fear like a witness, absorbed my anxiety into its furniture, echoed my restless pacing across its floors. But I'd like to believe it can hold my peace too. That these same walls can learn a new story. That the energy in this place can shift. That the atmosphere can thicken, not with tension, but with calm. That whatever spiritual weight once lingered here, whatever fear tried to take up residence, no longer has the authority to remain. You've always had the power to change atmospheres. Not just external ones, but the ones inside the heart. And that's where I need you most right now. I need you in the part of me that still looks at every corner as a potential threat. I need you in the thoughts that still imagine what could go wrong. I need you in the reflex that makes me flinch at sudden sounds. I need you in the tension that stays even after I say, I trust you. I need you in the part of me that believes safety must be earned through effort. I need you to undo that lie gently, without shame. Let your peace meet me there, in the honest places, not just the hopeful ones. Not only where I've already begun to heal, but where I still brace. Not only where I've found words for my fear, but where I still keep it hidden. Let your presence reach the locked doors within me too. The ones I've kept bolted, not out of defiance, but out of fear that if I open them, everything will fall apart. Remind me that nothing hidden in me scares you, that even the darkest room in the house of my soul is one you've already entered, already loved, already claimed as your. Tonight, I don't want to rehearse how strong I've been. I don't need to list the ways I've managed to make it through on my own. I don't want to be applauded for surviving nights full of fear. I just want rest. I want to lay it all down. I want to be allowed to fall asleep without guilt or shame, or the belief that I should be doing more. I want to believe that this home is enough, that this body is enough, that this moment right now is held in something stronger than me. And if I can believe that even for a few minutes, then maybe that's where the healing begins. Maybe it's not about never being afraid again, but about choosing to believe I don't have to fear alone. Maybe peace isn't the absence of discomfort, but the presence of something greater than it. And maybe, just maybe, that's what I've needed all along. Not a perfect home, not an impenetrable fortress, not a life without risk, but a presence that stays, a whisper that comforts, a strength that holds when mine runs out. There's a moment every night when I lie down and the lights are finally off, when all the noise I kept at bay during the day begins to press in. Even if the house is completely quiet, there's still a sound, a subtle pressure in the air, the weight of things left unspoken, unfinished, unresolved. I've learned to anticipate that moment, almost brace for it, as if it's an uninvited guest who always arrives just as I start to soften. And so I've spent countless nights trying to outthink the silence, fill it with music, distract myself into sleep. But it never really works, because what I truly crave isn't more noise. It's the assurance that I'm not alone in the silence. I think that's why this prayer matters so much. It's not a formula for perfect sleep or a guarantee that I'll wake without worry. It's a doorway I keep choosing to walk through, a space where I can bring my fears without being told to hide them, where I can bring my longing for protection without being told I'm weak. It's the one place I found where the weight of my worry isn't mocked or minimized, but gently received and slowly replaced, not by empty words, but by something deeper, by presence, by peace that doesn't demand I perform to earn it, by safety that isn't conditional on my vigilance. That's what I'm leaning into tonight. Not answers, not strategies, just presence. Just the reality that you are here, not only in the light, but also in the dark. Not only when I'm brave, but also when I'm worn down and unsure. You are not frightened by my fears, or annoyed by how long I carry them. You don't roll your eyes when I ask for peace again. You just stay steady, kind, patient, still here, even when I thought maybe you'd given up on me asking. And I know that safety doesn't mean nothing will ever go wrong. I've lived long enough to understand that storms still come, even to the faithful. But I've also lived long enough to know that there is a kind of peace that isn't rooted in circumstances. So I give you this moment, this room, this heart, the places that still tense when the lights go out, the thoughts that wander toward what could go wrong, the feeling in my chest that something is unfinished or unprotected. I give you all of it, not because I've figured out how to stop fearing, but because I'm learning how to stop fearing alone. That shift may seem small, but to me it feels like the beginning of something new, a kind of trust that doesn't erase the unknown, but changes how I live with it. Maybe that's what I've needed all along, not to eliminate every fear, but to find someone strong enough to carry them with me. Someone I don't have to explain myself to, someone who already sees the layers beneath the worry and still chooses to stay. Someone who stands not just beside me, but around me, within me, over me, covering the parts of my life I can't hold together on my own. Let that be the atmosphere in this home tonight. Let the walls breathe peace instead of echoing old anxieties. Let the air carry a softness that settles on the skin and into the soul. Let even the stillness feel active, as if something holy is humming beneath it, keeping the whole place in rhythm. Let this home become a sanctuary, Not just because the lights are off and the noise has stopped, but because you are here and you are not leaving. And if there are places within this house, within my heart, that have been hardened by years of fear, I ask you to begin softening them. Not all at once, not in a way that overwhelms, but slowly, like light returning after a long night. Touch the places where fear built its defenses. Dismantle what is no longer needed. Remind me that I don't have to carry yesterday's alarm into tonight's rest, that I don't have to bring every old fear into every new room, that I am allowed to begin again, even here, even now, even when I'm still figuring out how. Tonight, let the very idea of home be redefined, not as a place without pain, but as a place where healing can begin. Not as a fortress against all that could go wrong, but as a place where I am held even when things don't go as planned. Not as a symbol of control, but as a space for surrender, a space for rebuilding, a space where peace doesn't have to fight so hard to be heard. And if someone else out there is praying this with me, someone in another room, another city, another kind of life, I ask that your peace would reach them too. That their fears would be met with the same gentleness, that their walls would carry the same protection, that their breath would slow as mine does, that their homes would also become places where fear loses its grip. Let the prayer stretch beyond these walls. Let the peace expand. Let this be a night where comfort isn't isolated but shared. Because we all want the same thing, don't we? To feel safe, to know we can rest without having to earn it, to fall asleep without the feeling that we've forgotten something critical, to stop apologizing for being human, to believe, even for one night, that the silence is kind, the dark is calm, and we are covered. So I close my eyes tonight, not because every fear is gone, but because I've given them a place to go. I hand them over to you. Not to ignore them, but to stop carrying them alone. I've spent enough nights dragging worry from one room to the next, treating fear like a task that needs constant supervision. But the truth is, I was never meant to be the one keeping watch through every hour of darkness. I was never designed to bear that weight. You are not asking me to be the protector of the world around me. You are simply inviting me to trust that while I rest, you remain present. Let that truth fill the corners of this home. Let it stretch through the air like the warmth of a candle flickering low in the night. Let it nest in the fabric of the sheets, in the hush of the hallway, in the rhythm of breath slowing with each passing moment. Let my body believe it's safe enough to sleep. Let my mind learn the art of releasing, not just distracting. Let my heart stop reaching for every door handle, every switch, every fix. Let peace come, not through effort, but through surrender. And if something stirs in the dark, a sound, a shadow, a thought, I will not panic. I will not jump up assuming I've missed something. Instead, I will remember what I will stay in this quiet, breathe through the moment, and let the comfort I've welcomed tonight speak louder than the fear. I will remind myself that safety isn't proven by silence, but by presence, that even if the night shifts, you are the same from the moment I lay down to the moment I open my eyes again. There's a beautiful kind of strength in letting go, not giving up, not surrendering to fear, but choosing to rest in the knowledge that I don't have to be everything. I don't have to be the one who sees every angle, anticipates every problem, solves every unknown. Let this home mirror that choice. Let its quiet not be empty, but full. Let it be a fullness that isn't loud or obvious, but certain. A kind of certainty that lingers, even when the lights are out and the noise of the day has faded. Let these rooms breathe slow with me. Let the windows hold out the chaos. Let the walls echo with prayers that don't need to be spoken aloud to be real. Let this be holy ground, simply because I've decided to meet you here with all that I am, tired, anxious, honest, and open. There's no script in nights like this. No perfect posture or right number of words. Just the raw, quiet truth of needing rest and reaching for something greater than myself to carry me through it. And you've never required anything more than that. You've never asked me to arrive at peace fully prepared. You've only asked me to show up, to bring what I have, even if it's trembling, to speak what I feel, even if it's uncertain, and somehow, in your presence, that becomes enough. So let this house rest tonight, not just me, but the space itself. Let it settle into something peaceful. Let it become more than a shelter from the weather or a structure of safety features. Let it transform into a place where the soul exhales, a place where trust is practiced in the dark, not just preached in the light, a place where no one has to perform to be welcome, a place that is learning, alongside me, what it means to live without fear. The deeper I move into this night, the more I realize that peace is not something I find, it's something I receive. I don't have to go searching for it through perfection or overthinking. I don't need to earn it by proving I've done enough to deserve rest. I only need to open my hands, to admit that I want to be carried, to allow the quiet to become a soft place, not an empty one. That shift doesn't always come easily. I've spent so many years equating safety with control that surrender feels foreign. But tonight, I'm choosing to practice it again, not because I've mastered it, but because I've seen what happens when I don't, when I hold on so tightly to fear that it begins to shape the very atmosphere I live in. This house has walls, yes, but it also has memory. It remembers how I move through it, the rhythm of my footsteps, the speed of my breath, the way I pause in doorways or leave lights on just a little longer than I need to. And maybe, in some small way, it also remembers when I begin to soften, when I move more slowly, when I pause not in tension but in reverence, when I light a candle not out of anxiety but to mark a sacred pause, when I breathe not to calm my panic but because peace is already here. I want this home to absorb that, to begin to shift with me, to learn that it doesn't have to brace every time the sun goes down. Tonight, I invite you not just into my fear, but into the entire rhythm of this home, into the way I walk from room to room, into the sounds that usually unsettle me, into the silence that often stretches too wide, into the air itself, into the places that still feel fragile. I don't want to compartmentalize your presence, as if you only belong in the spiritual corners, the prayer space, the quiet moments before sleep. I want you in all of it, in the kitchen where my mind wanders, in the hallway where I pause before turning out the light, in the bathroom where I brace myself in the mirror, in the living room where I sit too long with thoughts that go nowhere, in the bedroom where I've both rested and wrestled. Let every inch of this space be touched by you tonight. Let there be no room that feels separate from peace. Let the whole home become a sanctuary, not because of its perfection, but because of your presence. Let the temperature feel just right, the shadows feel safe, the air feel full of something unseen but unmistakably good. Let me walk through this night without flinching, without rushing, without reaching for the habits that no longer serve me. Let me live in this space like it was meant for rest. And as I lie here now, still and quiet, I ask you to do the work I cannot, heal what's hidden, reassure what still trembles, breathe life into the places I've let grow numb from overprotection, restore the sense of wonder I used to carry into the night, the part of me that once looked at the stars through the window and believed in something beautiful, not something dangerous. I miss that version of myself, the one who didn't see every silence as suspicious, the one who didn't need to prepare for disaster just to feel safe. Bring her back gently, not by forcing anything, but by showing me that it's still possible, that there's still room for softness, that this home, this body, this moment can all become places of renewal, not retreat. Let the gentleness I'm asking for flow through every part of me. Let it become the language I speak to myself. Let it be what I build with, what I respond with, what I return to when fear rises again. And if sleep still takes time to come, I will not treat that as failure. I will simply keep breathing, keep resting, keep remembering that my safety tonight is not measured by how quickly I fall asleep, but by the presence I've welcomed into the night. A presence that doesn't clock out when I close my eyes. A presence that doesn't fade with the sunrise. A presence that stays quiet, faithful, strong. Let this home remember that presence. Let its walls echo with prayers like this one, even when I don't speak them aloud. Let it hold the memory of peace, so that tomorrow night, when I return to this space again, it already feels different, already feels lighter, already feels like something in me and in the atmosphere around me has changed. There's something holy in the quiet acceptance that not every fear needs to be solved tonight. I've spent so much energy trying to wrap every thought in certainty before sleep, as if safety could be achieved by completing a checklist in my mind. But some nights require less solving and more surrender, less doing, more being, less tightening, more loosening. Tonight, I am beginning to see the sacredness in not having everything figured out. I am beginning to understand that security is not about eliminating every unknown. It's about letting the unknown exist without letting it consume me. This home, at this hour, is full of invitations I often miss. The hush of the walls invites me to stop speaking to my fears. The rhythm of my breath asks me to pay attention to the body that longs to be trusted. The way the air settles after I turn out the lights is a reminder that peace doesn't need a performance. It just needs space. And tonight, I want to give it that space. I want to let this house be what it was always meant to be, not a battleground for anxiety, but a resting ground for the soul. I think of all the evenings when I tried to outthink the dark strategizing for what might happen, picturing worst-case moments that never arrived, exhausting myself with every mental scenario. None of those habits brought me peace. None of them made the silence less loud. None of them turned the night into something warm. What did make a difference, though quietly, subtly, was the decision to stop rehearsing what could go wrong and start welcoming the one who can hold whatever comes. That shift, though small, began to change the way I breathe. And now, I want more of that. I want this night to not just be one I get through, but one that teaches me how to live differently. I want to trust this home again, not just its locks and windows, but its spirit. I want to believe that peace can settle into the cracks, the places that fear once filled, and make them whole. That the places where I once walked with tension can remember a new way of being. That even the stillness that used to scare me can become the place where I feel most known. So, I slow down. I close my eyes a little longer than I need to. I turn my head into the pillow, not because I've given up, but because I've finally let go. I don't need to keep listening for something to fear. I can listen instead for the sound of breath, for the steady presence that wraps itself around my weariness. There is no pressure here, only comfort, only grace, only the gentle assurance that I've done enough today, and I am allowed to rest. I don't ask for dramatic signs tonight. I ask for the subtle ones. The kind of peace that stays even when I don't feel it fully. The kind of rest that holds me even when my body is slow to release. The kind of safety that doesn't come from perfect conditions, but from a trust that grows deeper with each breath I give to it. I ask for the small reminders, the still corners, the warmth in the sheets, the way the night air feels like a blanket instead of a warning. And if I wake again, because sometimes I do, I won't see that as a failure. I'll see it as another opportunity to remember that I'm still held, that you are still here. That fear may have a voice, but it doesn't have a vote. But this night isn't a test. It's a rhythm, one I'm learning slowly. And each time I return to this prayer, I'm participating in that rhythm. I'm letting it shape me, not through force, but through softness. I'm becoming someone who doesn't rush through the quiet, but settles into it. Let that transformation continue in me. Let it reshape how I see this home. Let it change the way I think about sleep. Let it soften the parts of me that still expect interruption. Let it teach me how to be fully here, not scanning for risk, but receiving the stillness. Let the walls of this room begin to feel like a place I can trust again. Let the air feel thick with peace, as if the very molecules around me have been stilled by love. And if others share this space with me, family, roommates, children, I ask for them too. Cover their sleep, still their thoughts, bring calm to their bodies. Let the entire home be filled with the same spirit of safety, not divided by room or need. Let us all breathe the same quiet. Let every heartbeat in this place move into rest. Let no one feel alone tonight. Let no one carry more than they were made to. Let this night be a balm, not a burden. It's strange how fear can take something as familiar as home and make it feel unfamiliar. I've walked through these rooms 1,000 times. I know the way the floor creaks near the hallway. I recognize how the light from the street filters through the curtain just before midnight. I've memorized the sound of the fridge cycling off, the hum of the heater, the occasional tick of the ceiling settling. But when fear creeps in, even those known sounds feel suspicious. Even the silence I used to welcome becomes something I resist. And I begin to feel like I'm a stranger in the very place that's supposed to hold me. But tonight, I want to return, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. I want to come back to this place, not with my guard up, but with my arms open. I want to look at the walls, not as potential barriers between me and safety, but as a space you're already filling with peace. I want to walk through this home as if I truly believe it can hold something holy, that it already does, that every inch of it is wrapped in the kind of presence that doesn't shift with my moods, that doesn't rise and fall with the headlines, that doesn't leave when the fear returns, a presence that stays. So much of this fear, I've realized, isn't just about what could happen. It's about whether or not I'll be okay if it does, whether I'll be strong enough, whether I'll be enough. But you've never asked me to be the strong one. You've never required me to be the one who holds it all together. You've only asked me to let you in. And sometimes that's the harder task, because it means releasing control. It means trusting in something bigger than my plans, bigger than my preparation, bigger than my protection. So here I am again, in the softness of this moment, practicing that trust one breath at a time. I'm not rushing it. I'm not expecting transformation in an instant. I'm just showing up. I'm just whispering. I'm ready for this house to feel like home again. I'm ready for the shadows to no longer stretch like warnings, but to simply exist without threat. I'm ready for the doors to feel like invitations to peace, not pressure. I'm ready for the bed to become a place of rest, not a battleground for my thoughts. I'm ready to stop rehearsing pain and start receiving comfort. Let this night be soaked in that comfort. Let it begin in the spaces that have been tense for too long, in the way my body holds itself tightly even when I'm lying down, in the way my thoughts drift toward catastrophes instead of calm, in the way I listen for sounds that don't matter. Quiet those parts gently, not by scolding them into silence, but by reminding them they are safe now. Not because the world has changed, but because I'm no longer facing it alone, because you are here, because you have not moved. And if there are parts of this house that have held fear longer than they've held peace, I ask that you begin to change their story. If the hallway was once a place where I froze, let it now become a place I walk freely. If the corners of the room once echoed with dread, let them now soften with stillness. If the entryway once felt vulnerable, let it now stand protected. Not because of locks, but because of love. Not because of vigilance, but because of presence. There's a quiet kind of power in claiming a space again, in choosing to see it not as it was in my anxious memories, but as it can be in the light of healing. I want that power to live here now, not loud, not urgent, just steady, just certain. Let this home be redefined by what enters it tonight. Not fear, but peace. Not threat, but safety. Not striving, but stillness. Let that be the atmosphere I breathe in as I drift towards sleep. And if the night stretches long, if I wake before the light returns, I won't panic. I won't assume that rest has abandoned me. I'll return to this prayer. I'll whisper what I've already said, not because you need to hear it again, but because I need to remember it again. That nothing about this moment is wasted, that even in the hours when my eyes are open, my soul can still be resting, that even when I don't feel asleep, I can still feel safe. There's a point in every night when the world outside finally settles. The traffic becomes rare, the voices fade, and even the hum of the city lowers into a hush. It's in that deep stillness that I often feel most vulnerable, not because anything has changed, but because without all the background sound, my own thoughts sound louder. The quiet makes room for everything I didn't get to address during the day, and sometimes that flood can feel overwhelming. But maybe, just maybe, that same quiet can be where peace begins to speak louder too, if I let it. I've been learning that the silence doesn't have to be filled. I don't need to rush to distract myself, to reach for my phone, or turn on noise just to drown out the questions in my heart. Sometimes the most healing thing I can do is stay in that stillness and choose to let it hold me instead of haunt me. Not because the silence itself is safe, but because you are in it, because your presence doesn't require noise to be near, because you speak even when you say nothing. And in that quiet, I begin to hear the softest truths. You remind me that I am not here by accident, that this moment matters, that I am not fragile for needing to feel safe. I am simply human. You remind me that home is not just the structure around me, but the sanctuary I allow to form within me. And right now, I am building that sanctuary slowly, breath by breath, prayer by prayer, in the way I let go of control and pick up trust instead. Let that sanctuary expand now. Let it stretch past the bedroom into every room I've ever feared at night, the hallway I used to rush through, the closet I kept closed because of the feeling it gave me, the space near the window where I once thought something might appear. Let each of those places receive this peace too. Let them be softened. Let them be seen. Let them be restored from the weight of imagination that was built on fear, not truth. And if there's anything in this house that has carried my anxiety, objects, rooms, corners, I release them into your hands. I don't want fear to have ownership of any part of this home. I want it all to belong to you. Let this house become something new. Let it be rebuilt, not by renovation, but by revelation, not by paint or rearrangement, but by presence. Yours, here, fully, in every square foot, in every hidden place. Let the spiritual atmosphere of this home shift. Let what once clung to me fall away. Let the grip of past fears, past nights, past memories break under the weight of your gentleness. I don't need force. I just need you, your patience, your peace, your ability to sit with me without demanding I hurry up and feel better. That's what makes you safe, too. Not that you snap your fingers and fix everything, but that you stay through the process, through the heaviness, through the layers. So, I keep letting go of the need to predict, of the instinct to tense, of the stories that say, you're not safe unless you're on high alert. Those stories are familiar, but they've never brought me peace. Tonight, I want to tell a new story. I want to fall asleep knowing that safety doesn't come from preparing for everything. It comes from knowing I'm not preparing alone, that someone wiser, stronger, kinder is already aware, already watching, already surrounding this home with love so thick nothing else can get through. Let the very foundations of this house be covered in that truth. Let it rise from the floor, rest in the walls, and settle in the air. Let every door be blessed. Let every window be sealed with peace. Let every surface carry a memory of calm. Let the roof above me be more than shelter from weather. Let it be a symbol of divine covering, unseen but unfailing. If the quiet deepens, I will not resist it. I will not assume something is wrong. I will embrace the silence as sacred. I will let it hold me. I will let it wrap me in stillness. I will let my body melt into the comfort that is not circumstantial, but supernatural. The kind of comfort that comes only from knowing I am not alone in the dark. That even here, even now, I am seen and loved and protected in more ways than I know. Let my home be a safe place tonight, not for appearance, but in essence. Let it be so safe that I no longer rush through the night. Let it be so calm that my breath slows without instruction. Let it be so peaceful that even the air feels warm. Let the ordinary things, lamps, blankets, doors, pillows, become vessels of comfort. Let everything around me cooperate with the truth that you are here, and that is enough. There's a closing feeling that comes when the night is almost complete. Not just the physical exhaustion, but something deeper. A sense that the soul, too, is ready to rest. After so many hours of holding, protecting, thinking, checking, wondering, fearing, there comes a moment when the body leans into the mattress a little heavier and the mind finally agrees to be quiet. It doesn't mean everything is solved. It doesn't mean I'll never be afraid again, but it means that, at least for tonight, I've made space for something better to take over. Not better because it's louder or stronger, but better because it's true. You've been here through every thought. You've walked the silent path of this night with me. You've listened without interrupting, waited without hurrying, stayed without condition. You've filled the corners I couldn't name. You've steadied the rhythm of my breath. You've covered the windows I stared at too long. You've stood at the doors I feared would open. You've surrounded every inch of this space in ways I'll never fully understand, and yet, somehow, my heart knows it happened. I feel it now. This isn't the same room it was when I first laid down. Something has changed, not because the walls moved, but because I did. That is what peace does. It doesn't arrive like thunder. It comes as a steady hand reaching into the storm. It meets me where I am, not where I pretend to be, and it never rushes. It doesn't ask for performance. It doesn't punish slowness. It simply waits for me to say, I'm ready, and tonight I finally was. Not all at once, not without resistance, but little by little, fear lost its hold. The tension gave way. The room softened. The weight on my chest grew lighter. Not because I forced it to go, but because I finally believed I didn't have to carry it alone. Let this be the memory I carry from this night, not the fear that once tried to shape it. Not the moments I felt unsettled, but the way peace came anyway. The way stillness wrapped around me, and the way this home, these walls, this bed, all became more than just things. They became witnesses to healing. Not dramatic healing, not instant transformation, but something real, something honest. A moment when a weary heart was allowed to breathe again. If tomorrow brings new tension, If a new wave of fear rises with the sun, I won't treat that as a failure. I will simply return to what I've learned tonight. That safety is not something I build from the outside in. It begins in trust, in presence, in the still invitation to believe I am not abandoned, not forgotten, not expected to carry more than I was made for. That this home is not just where I live, it's where I rest, where I begin again, where I allow grace to enter not just the rooms I keep tidy, but the places I've left messy. Let that trust continue now, even as my body begins to slip into sleep. Let it deepen with each breath. Let it hold me when I cross the line between waking and rest. Let me wake in the morning, not just with a rested body, but with a soul that remembers I was kept, I was held, I was not alone. Let this house echo with that truth long after the night is gone. Let it live in the air, in the stillness, in the corners I used to fear. Let every night that follows carry this imprint. Let peace not be a visitor, but a resident. Tonight, this home has been redefined, not by new furniture or rearranged plans, but by presence, by a shift in what I believe is possible, by a willingness to let go of the need to be the one holding everything up. This home has become a sanctuary, not because everything went right, but because grace was invited in when things felt uncertain, and that invitation will remain open. Let my home be a safe place tonight and every night that follows. Let it be the kind of place where even the shadows feel soft, where even the silence feels known, where even the fears that return are met with something stronger than them. Let this not be the end of the prayer, but the beginning of a new way of resting, a new way of living, a new way of trusting.